Fellas, let's start right there. The importance of those secondary characters on Boston was very evident in Game 2 in the absence of those players. Bill, what was the biggest difference you saw in terms of their usage between Game 1 and Game 2, and what are your expectations here in Game 3?
You guys noted at the top of the show, the Celtics have really been largely, or to a smaller degree, depending on the quarter, outplayed in every quarter that they have been in this series other than the fourth quarter of Game 1. And that difference was guys like Al Horford hitting shots. Marcus Smart had a pretty good game. I mean, you need to get help if you are Jaylen Brown and if you're Jason Tatum. The interesting thing is, and you're right, the role players have to be better. It's almost always easier to do that at home. I'd also argue that the star players and Tatum and Brown have to be better and more consistent. Tatum, a really poor game in Game 1 from a shooting perspective. I know he did other things. And Jaylen Brown had a great first quarter in Game 2, but really fell off a cliff offensively as Draymond Green honed in and frustrated him. So the stars, the role players, the friendliness of being back at TD Garden is going to be critical for those guys to be comfortable, to run their offense, and to hit shots and open shots if they want to compete against this Warriors team.
Coach, all season, postseason long, that is, this is a Celtics team that's risen to the moment on the heels of a loss. 6-0 straight up and against the number coming off of a loss. And as Bill outlines here, sort of a perfect scenario for those role players to get back into good graces. Do you share that opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. And Bill is right. And I'll just add something else. The role players are very dependent on Jason Tatum getting double teamed and Brown forcing additional help so that they can make the right play. Those guys didn't force those double teams or triple teams the way they did in Game 1. The Warriors came in with the mindset that they were going to trap Jason Tatum. He made the right play. Hartford and Smart, as you alluded to, they scored a combined 44 points and they made them pay. Steve Kerr made an adjustment, went with a little bit more single coverage on Tatum. And if Tatum is not going to be efficient, he's not going to see many double teams, even in Boston, unless he's going to make the defense pay. So those guys are not going to get heavily involved unless Tatum is scoring the ball at a high level, Brown is scoring the ball at a high level, and force the Warriors to double team.
Correct me if I'm not hearing this right. It's got to be everybody. We're talking about the NBA Finals, gentlemen. You better bring your best. And I want to talk about the depth on the Warriors side of this one as well, because I think it's a blanket statement that can be applied to all athletes, but a confident Jordan Poole is a dangerous Jordan Poole. We saw him bring that building to life in Game 2. Also patched a bit of a hole left by Klay Thompson and his inefficiencies. We'll get there in a moment. But 5 threes for Poole in Game 2, Coach. How do you see him fitting into the game plan here for Game 3 on the road?
Well, Bill was all over this one, especially going into Game 2. He was the X factor. Obviously, he's not Kevin Durant, but he was being hailed as part of the big three with the Warriors. And, you know, he didn't play well in Game 1. I think it was a little bit of stage shock, but he knocked down a couple of threes in Game 2. You know, really had it going, knocked down this big one at the end of the quarter, had that smile and that confidence going, playing at home. And I think if he can carry this over on the road, spread the floor for guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to have room to operate, Draymond Green hitting him with some on-time, on-target passes. If he's going to play the way he played in Game 2, especially with Klay Thompson struggling a little bit, I think that's going to bode well for the Golden State Warriors on the road.
Yeah, Coach is absolutely right. Stephen Curry is incredible. We know this. We know what he's about. We know what he can do. He needs help. Everybody needs help. I mean, LeBron James was home. He had a great season. You have to get support from your supporting cast. And the frustrating thing for that Warriors organization is how deep they believe they are and how deep they think they are offensively. You noted Klay Thompson has not played well over the course of the series, and other guys haven't helped the way they need to. Jordan Poole, they believe, even though he's young, even though he's been shell-shocked over that first game, has the skills. We saw it in the regular season. We saw it when Steph Curry was injured and he had to step in a big way. He's good enough to be an offensive force for the Warriors. Doesn't have to be 7 games in the series. Doesn't. Has to be 3 or 4 games. Somebody has to step up, and Jordan Poole needs to be that guy. He's going to get a lot more open looks than Steph Curry. Steph's going to create that for him. He's probably going to get as many open looks as even Klay Thompson, even as Klay struggles, because Jordan Poole's a young guy, and if you have to choose, and you do, you choose, if you're the Celtics, to let the young guy beat you. He's got to a couple times.
You say his name 3 times and he appears. Let's go Klay here, guys, because on one hand, we're talking about an all-time great, a top 5 shooter, let's say, in the history of the game. Gave us 32 in a closeout not all that long ago. And then on the other hand, this guy who missed 15 shots in Game 2 and looked like a defensive liability, as you've noted earlier, Bill. Which version do you expect here in Game 3?
Yeah, that's it. He has been a defensive liability, and he's coming off an injury that would ruin most careers. I'm a Klay Thompson fan. The way that he plays, his passion, I am highly skeptical we're going to see the right version of him because of what you just noted, Joe. He doesn't look like himself. He looks like he's lost a step offensively and defensively. He just seems behind the game. But Steph Curry knows a lot more about Klay Thompson than any of us combined. And Steph has said to the media the last 24 hours, he's confident. Klay Thompson's got the swagger. He's streaky. We know that. He's going to be fine. I'm not buying it. I'm really worried Klay Thompson, at least right now, isn't the guy that he was. But Stephen Curry says that he believes, and we've seen from the Warriors time and again, you don't want to doubt any of these guys when you think they're down, when you think it's over. When in Klay's case, you think maybe the game's moved on past him a little bit.
Well, we just showed Klay Thompson with a left-handed post-up air ball on the post. And again, he was struggling, but I would say his body language wasn't good. He started shaking his head. He was talking to himself. And he just didn't look like a veteran, multiple NBA champion type of a player. But I think the road's going to be good for him. Get out of San Francisco, get on the road. Some guys like Klay Thompson, they need to play that enemy type of a role on the road. And I think the baskets are going to open up for him. I think those baskets in Boston are going to look like an ocean. And Klay's going to really play at a high level tonight and Game 4. I'm really confident that he's going to bounce back. Jordan Poole's going to draw more attention. Obviously, Steph draws a lot of attention. Wiggins is playing well offensively. He's been one of the better two-way players in this series. But I'm looking for Klay Thompson to break out of his slump, maybe go, 6 threes, 7 threes tonight and play awfully well.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get into some catch-and-shoot looks, too, because he's a guy who famously went for 60 off 12 dribbles, guys. That gets you a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I think we saw 12 or more dribbles in that highlight package right there, so maybe it is the looks that'll help out Klay here on the road as well. It's never good when you're talking refs before, during, or after in a game, guys, but I think it's worth noting Boston 12-0 this season in games where Scott Foster's on the crew. Pretty stark splits. So let's frame that within this series that's gotten increasingly chippy over the last 48. Are we in line here for an all-time ref show, Bill Reiter?
Yeah, I think we are. And I think Draymond Green has really ratcheted up the tension here because and this is part of it, not just the line that Draymond always dances with a technical foul and then flirting with another one and the foul on Jaylen Brown. He's so Draymond. Draymond went on his podcast and said, the officials should defer to me. I'm Draymond Green. I should get more of the benefit of the doubt. That's not going to work with this crew, Foster in particular. And one of the guys that are on this crew has given more technical fouls than anybody else over the course of the season. So I think what we're going to see is one of two things. Draymond Green, and sometimes he can't, see 2016 and missing Game 5, see in Memphis when he fouled aggressively one of the members of the Memphis Grizzlies, and they responded by hurting Gary Payton. Whether you think it was dirty play, not dirty play, it was that level going up. If Draymond can be on the right side of the line and get under these guys' skin a little bit, and it seems like that's been the case in between games, then those officials and their need to shine the light on the officials, on Scott Foster, and look at me, I'm the guy, that's going to be a detriment to the Celtics. But I've talked to some folks around the NBA who just, shooting the breeze, think it's highly likely that Draymond gets ejected from this game because they're going to be ready. They're going to be like, all right, is Draymond showing me up? Is he doing something that's on the wrong side of the line? It's a T. It's another T. You're out of here. So I think it's going to come down to Draymond and whether the officials, who will have a huge impact, and their ire, and frankly, their ego, is going to be directed toward him or toward the people responding to Draymond. It's a fine line.
As much as Draymond wants the attention, and I know it's been a big headline going into tonight's game, there are two keys for the Warriors to win this game. Number one, and they're both on defense, you have to defend the three-point line. Boston made 21 threes, shot over 50% from the three-point line in Game 1. They made 15 threes in Game 2, but that was 3 or 4 in garbage time. So you got to do a good job of defending the three-point line. And the second thing is force turnovers. They forced 18 turnovers. They got 33 points off turnovers. And I just think, again, you got to force those turnovers, play at a high level, get those deflections. And if Boston turns the ball over tonight at a high rate where they 18, 19, 20 turnovers, this game is over. So those two things, defend the three-point line and force Boston in those careless turnovers.
Who doesn't love a villain on parquet? It could be some good stuff coming our way, guys. So let's get to some money propositions as well. Hitching our cart to an engine here, Bill. Who are you targeting into the prop market here in Game 3?
I've done this every single game of this series and many of the games in this postseason. I'm just going Steph Curry on the over on the point total again and again and again. A little higher. 28.5, which is interesting because obviously they're on the road. I'm sure some of that is Vegas adjusting and assuming some of the Warriors role players aren't going to shoot as well. Steph is a distributor, and he creates so much gravity for the guys around him, so many open shots, but we've seen his ability and his willingness to dribble out of or split double teams. Yeah, if there's a third guy, and we saw this in Game 2, he'll distribute the ball, but he's also going to get a shot off. He's going to create space for himself. He's going to score, win or lose. I think Steph has a huge night. Again, it's about him, and he's also focused on being Finals MVP. I don't think to the detriment of his team, but I think it's in his mind he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the valuable one. He's got to bring this home. I love the over. It's hit the last 2 times. It'll hit tonight.
Well, I agree with Bill, and I'm picking the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to go in here and win Game 3. I just don't trust the Celtics to take care of the basketball, to make consistent rotations on defense. I believe Steve Kerr and the staff has figured something out in terms of how to attempt to defend the Celtics. The Warriors they got too many guys that can score in a lot of different ways. Ball movement, player movement, pick and roll, in the quarters. I think they get 1 or 2 more stops. And if the game is close, I definitely trust the Warriors more in a close game than the Celtics. So I'm going with the Warriors tonight on the road to win Game 3.
All right, Bill, you heard it there. Coaches on the Dubs catching that 3.5. As you assess the numbers, 212.5 is our total. We've split 1-1, winning tickets on each side. We've split 1-1 over and under through 2 games. Where are you heading?
Like that classic rom-com, I love you, man. I love Coach, because I thought I was going to be on an island here. I really did. No one else that I've talked to, media members or sources out there, people in the NBA, are with me. And then I think the Warriors are going to win this basketball game. Do I think it could be close? I certainly do. I'm aware what the Celtics do. I know that they bounce back against losses. I know they haven't lost back-to-back games in the postseason. I got all of it. It's the Golden State Warriors. It's a different animal altogether. You get 3.5 points on goal. I'm betting personally. I'm betting Golden State on the money line. But I think that if you want to hedge, maybe it's the smart move. If you want to be a little safer, just take the 3.5. Can Boston win the game? Sure. Can they win it big? Sure. It's been an unpredictable series. Golden State has won 7 out of the 8 quarters. They just have. When they play defense, when Steph gets some help, and when Steph is Steph, they win. They win everything. They've never lost a series when their big 3, Clay, Draymond, and Steph, have all started in every game of that series. This is the same reality. These guys are playing. I'm with Coach. I love the Warriors tonight.
We will take one step closer to crowning a champion here on Wednesday night, and these 2 gentlemen will be with us through it all. Bill, Coach, thank you as always. Let's take a look at what they want you to do. Bill Reiter, he's on the Dubs, catching those 3.5. Maybe sprinkle him on the money line. Let's get crazy, take some plus money home. Curry over his 28.5, and what's become a principal play for Bill Reiter here at the finals. As for Coach, he's on the Dubs as well.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.